is an increase of about 20%, a little over 20% here, which is very significant. Hey everyone, Sparks back with another Goddess Victory Nikke video, and I've just done a bunch of testing with Grave. Now this isn't really exhaustive testing, this is first impressions. There are many more teams I can try, as well as putting her in many more situations. Later on down the line, I will probably do a full review and guide after thorough testing of her on multiple different game modes. So keep an eye out for that video, subscribe so you don't miss it. But today is kind of all about our first impressions and seeing just what Grave is capable of and if it's worth you pulling for her and getting, a lot of investment into her. So I've put up a team here that is basically a pierce damage focused team because that's going to be Grave's big thing. And we're going to see if Grave deals a lot of damage herself, if she's only a support, if she's even good at supporting what she's supposed to support. So the team here that I have that I'm going to be using for today is D-Killer Wife, and then Grave, of course, Red Hood, who is basically the most powerful pierce damage user in the game, and then Asuka, who is also a very powerful damage dealer that has pierce attacks when she's bursting, and then Maxwell is also a pierce unit, but mostly she's just a filler here. She's no support. There's a lot of different units we could use here. I'd also like to try some teams with Alice. She's gonna pretty much apply anything that we can see results here. We're gonna probably be able to apply to Alice or other pierce units as well, so just keep that in mind. I've also set this up so none of these units are getting elemental damage, okay? So this is purely neutral. Now we're gonna do 3 rounds of testing and also a comparison to Crown. In this first round of testing, I have Grave at only level 4 skills. Everybody should be able to get her skills to at least level 4. And then we'll see kind of what our baseline is here for this squad. And it looks like we got 1,491,000 and some change million damage, okay? So that is our baseline. And then if we take a look at kind of the damage that individual units are doing, we have Grave doing, let me just jot this down here really quick, we might as well. Grave is doing 129 million. Red Hood is doing 737 million, it's so crazy. And then Asuka is doing 431 million. Okay, and then I guess we might as well get Maxwell's damage in there as well. She's doing almost exactly 100 million. All right, so let's go ahead and see what the second round worth of damage is. And here I've put a lot of investment into Grave, so we're going to test and see if it's actually worth it. Now, unfortunately, I didn't have quite enough manuals to or materials to be able to get her all the way to 10 on everything, so her skill levels are currently sitting at 8, 8, and 10. Something to keep in mind, skill 2 is probably going to be your lowest priority because it doesn't buff the rest of the team. So if you do have to save somewhere, I would say skill 2 is probably going to be the least relevant, burst being the most important, of course, as it is with a lot of units out there. So anyway, we'll go ahead and see what her damage is, or rather what this damage is after the skill investment, and we can see that the skill levels matter a lot. We just did 1.8 billion damage, which is an increase of about 20%, a little over 20% here, which is very significant. That is a big boost in damage. And again, her 2 skills are only at level 8 and the burst being a 10. So she could get even stronger. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the individual damage numbers. So Grave is now doing 199. Okay, so that is a big increase from 129. But still very little relative to like our total damage output and what we're doing with our main burst 3 attackers, right? And then Red Hood is doing 851 million, okay? So we're seeing an increase there of about 80 million damage. And then Asuka did 540 million. That's over 100 million damage increase. So that is a really big step up as well. That's about a 20% increase in damage there. And then Maxwell doing 113. Again, she's not bursting, and she gets kind of a modest 13% increase there in damage. Though actually that's still pretty dang significant, if I'm being honest. Just the overall damage is lower. So yeah, I would say invest in Grave. Skill levels matter a lot. You'll get a ton of damage out of her. But She did get a big increase in her own damage as well, not just the team, but still, she's not really contributing a lot of damage here overall. Okay, so now we're gonna do a test of what Crown could do in this same situation. So exactly the same squad. Let's go ahead and see, or except just, you know, Crown instead of Grave. Same, no elemental damage. Now my crown is 100% invested. She is all max overloads, all equipment level 5. She has all 3 of her skills at level 10. She's max limit break, affection level 40. So if anything, Crown should have a slight edge here. And we're getting a total damage of 1,815,000,000, which is a modest increase, okay? I mean, this might even be just like within margin of error of RNG. Not a lot, okay? And we know how crazy Crown is. Let's see what the individual damage is. So Crown herself is definitely doing more damage. So she did 214 million damage. Still very low damage, relatively speaking, to our total amount of damage. So both her and Grave are not contributing a lot to the total. So what this tells me, or what it tells all of us, is that getting more duplicates of Grave is probably not a big deal here. So you can just get your 1 copy and feel good about it. The reason for that being is that none of her skills scale off of her stat values, okay? They only scale off of the actual percentage modifiers in the skills. So skill levels, like we saw, matter a lot, but the fact that her total damage or her personal damage isn't contributing that much to the total, and her skills don't scale off of those values, you really don't need to go into building her strength up a lot with a bunch of extra copies. So you can feel good about that. Anyway, let's also see what Red Hood is doing. Red Hood is doing less damage with Crown. So she's doing 787 damage. So that's a little bit more than we were doing with our level 4 Grave, but that is about 70 million less than we're doing with our skill invested Grave. Asuka is doing 556 million. That's a slight increase of about 16 million damage over her damage she was doing with Grave. And then Maxwell is doing 114, so almost just exactly the same as she was doing with our highly invested Grave. So Grave is looking impressive. Crown is ridiculously good, and Grave is keeping up, if not, maybe a slight edge. Now, Crown is going to be a lot more universally applicable, whereas Grave is really going to be good against or with your squad that is a pierced-based damage team. But, specializing in teams is very valuable, so don't dismiss this at all. Grave is 100% worth pulling. She's one of the best supports in the game, as we can see here. Something to keep in mind as far as like building her equipment, I want to say like attack and elemental damage is the way to go. After that, maybe crit stats, but again, I wouldn't stress too much on re-rolling her. I mean, high-level players will want to, but otherwise there's going to be bigger targets for you to actually re-roll, such as Cinderella. I would also say you probably don't need to mix her with other attack buffers so much. Generally, stacking a lot of different attack buffers has diminishing returns, so like pairing her with Leader, for instance, might not be super valuable. Leader might be better used on another team. So just keep that in mind. All right, let me know what you think about Grave, if you got a lot different results, or if you have any questions on my testing here or anything about Grave at all, let me know. I'm happy to have her. She's looking really good. This has been a banger of an anniversary. Don't forget to check out me. Don't forget to check me out. Don't forget to check out my stream tomorrow. I'll see you guys live. We'll be buying probably a lot of the passes and gotcha skins. It'll be fun. And we'll do further testing with Grave, as well as some more in-depth testing of Cinderella now that she has been debugged. All right, I'll catch you guys in the next video or stream.